can hear you. Are you starting? There's still like 2-3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. We will wait for 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
गाड़ी भेज रहा हूँ तो मैं मम्मी के कंप्लेंट मम्मी बार-बार नहीं चली आ रही।
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Uddipana Kalita, and I will be your host for the series of talks, Let's Talk Science. Today, we are very pleased to welcome Professor Satyajit Rath to our fourth edition of the Let's Talk Science series. Recently, to broaden the horizon of school teachers and children, we have initiated a series of online talks by practicing scientists or researchers. This series is to introduce school students and teachers to ideas that go a little beyond the curriculum and point towards directions that science has taken to enhance our explorations of the natural world, as well as empowering humanity with newer tools for engaging with nature. Today, in the COVID-19 pandemic, we are very pleased to have a talk that discusses COVID-19 and immunity. Most of us are worried about immunity during this time and drink a lot of different teas to boost our immunity. Most of the times we don't know what immunity means. So we have Professor Satyajit Rath to shed light on this important topic today. I will just introduce him to the audience. Professor Satyajit Rath is a faculty at the Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research. He was trained as a physician and pathologist and has worked on mechanisms involved in development and functioning of the immune system, initially in India and overseas. And then he worked as a faculty in National Institute of Immunology, New Delhi. And since retirement, he has been a faculty at IISER, Pune. He also advises the government on matters of policy relating to science and society, as well as small companies on drug discovery. Today, he is going to be exploring COVID-19 and immunity and inspire us to ask all immunity-related questions. He is an eminent scientist and a good orator. So I would request all the participants to please ask their questions in the chat box so that he may take the questions in the talk. I welcome Professor Satyajit Rath to begin his talk. He would be interested to answer questions that students would be asking. So please keep writing your questions in the chat box. Our talk is also live on Facebook, so you can watch it later on the Joy of Learning page, which is a Joy of Learning Foundation. This talk is going to be brought to you by Joy of Learning Foundation in collaboration with Sri Aurobindo Society, Pondicherry, and Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. I welcome Dr. Satyajit Rath to take over the stage.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much. And first of all, I'm going to say a couple of things about how we're going to spend this hour. I'm not going to give you a little bhashan about answers about COVID-19. If you want that, you should just read the newspapers. What I'm going to try and do is point out to you many of the things that we didn't know and have sort of discovered, or even worse, we didn't know, and we haven't as yet discovered. And that is how we're going to talk about COVID-19 and use COVID-19 to think about science and models of understanding the world and how things work. So this is going to be conversation. It's not, I have no slides. I very much apologize. You're stuck with my mug on the screen, so deal with it. So what I'm going to do is take about 15 minutes to try and set up a little bit of background and context. Incidentally, if anybody has difficulties with English, please write in the chat box and I will try and switch back and forth between Hindi and English. It's not a problem. Just let me know. I am watching the chat box, so feel free to write things in it. My last reservation, when you raise questions in the chat box, I am not going to give you answers. I am going to give you responses. But a response is not necessarily an answer. It's just thinking together about what the question is about, rather than giving you what is correct. There is no such thing. Okay, so let me start with a question that just popped up in the chat box. I have COVID-19. What are my chances of A, getting better, B, becoming immune, and C, catching COVID-19 again 3 months from today, right? So let's start with that. So since I don't know the age of the person who has asked me this question, I'm going to switch it to something that actually happened last week. A friend of mine who's actually older than me and who therefore falls very much in the category of elderly people who are at particular risk of COVID-19, wrote about his experience. And he said, I and my family, all of whom are above 65 years of age, all got COVID-19 and none of us got it seriously. It was mild disease for all of us. How can this have happened? We must have been immune, he said. So let us ask how much of this is correct. So first of all, when we say that the elderly have been found to be at high risk of catching COVID-19, we're actually making a mistake. Everybody can catch infection with the virus, meaning that the virus comes in little droplets through breath and into my airways, sits on cells in my airways, and individual virus particles will stick to cells in my airways. And this individual virus particle, if it sticks closely enough to the cell of the airway, and what does closely enough mean? That it has a protein on the surface of the virus particle, which sticks in lock and key fashion very closely and tightly to a protein on the surface of the cell. Once this happens, the virus is stable enough and close enough to get in. Okay, I'm getting chat box messages saying there's a voice problem. So I'm hoping that that's only a problem for a few people and not for everybody.
Yes, Sachit, we can hear you quite well.
Okay. So is this likely to happen? If even this cannot happen, in other words, when the virus particle comes in and sits on my cells or sits in the mucus on my cells, because remember, no matter how gross it is, all of us have mucus in our airways all the time, right? In your nose, in your throat, in your breathing apparatus down in the lungs, there's mucus everywhere. So the virus particle is in a little droplet that has come and stuck to the mucus. Is the virus particle going to stick closely enough to the cell or not? This is the first level at which what we call immunity will function. If we have ways in which we can prevent this sticking, then that's one step of immunity. We will talk about immunity as we keep going forward, but this is the first step of immunity. If the virus gets into the cell, then the virus is going to start doing its thing. And what is the thing that the virus does? The virus starts its life cycle. So the virus has its genetic code, which in the case of SARS-CoV-2 is RNA. For other viruses, it can be DNA, but for this virus, it is RNA. So when the virus sticks and gets into the cell, as soon as it gets into the cell, the RNA of the virus begins to execute the program that it is coding. How does it begin to execute it when it wasn't executing it outside? Because outside it didn't have access to all the enzymes that would allow the code to be read and executed. Inside a cell, for the first time, it has access to all the enzymatic machinery that will allow the code to be read and executed. So that's what's happening. Okay. We have somebody who's uncomfortable with English, so I'm going to switch back and forth. तो वायरस का विषाणु का कण जब आके कोशिका की सेल की सतह पर चिपकता है, तो इतनी नजदीकी से और इतनी मजबूती से चिपकना चाहिए कि वायरस अपनी आरएनए को सेल के अंदर डाल सके. अगर वायरस अपनी आरएनए को सेल के अंदर डालने में सफल हो, तब जाके वायरस की आरएनए में का जो कोड है, उस कोड के मुताबिक प्रोग्राम की एग्जीक्यूशन शुरू हो जाएगी. तो जब प्रोग्राम की एग्जीक्यूशन शुरू होती है, तो वो किस दिशा में होती है? तो वायरस, व्हाट इज द वायरस डूइंग? द वायरस इज ट्राइंग टू मेक मेनी वायरस कॉपीज. That's the purpose of the virus, to make many virus copies. So when the viral RNA is using its own code inside the cell, it is redirecting the enzymatic machinery of the cell towards making copies of the virus. वायरस जब अंदर जाता है तो उसका मकसद क्या होता है कि अपनी कई सारी नकलें, अपनी कई सारी कापियां बना ले. अगर इतनी कापियां बनानी है तो सेल की जो एंजाइमेटिक मशीनरी है, व्यवस्थाएं हैं, उनको अपना के, उनको हथिया के वायरस अपनी कापियां बनाना शुरू कर देगा, जहां के वो सारी मशीनरी सेल के काम आती थी, उससे उनको हटा के वायरस की कॉपियां बनाने पे लगा लो। तो when we are doing this, what we are saying is कि एक और वायरस is making its own copies inside the cell. जब कई कॉपियां बनती हैं, when virus particles are assembled in the cell, तब जाके these virus copies will be released from the infected cell, right? So one virus particle infecting one cell, a few hours later, कुछ घंटों बाद, इसी सेल में से सैकड़ों हजारों वायरस की कॉपियां निकल आएंगी, जो आसपास whatever cells are available outside, they will start getting infected with the virus. Basically, what we are saying is that in your body, a virus particle will infect one cell, और जैसे कि एक वायरस पार्टिकल ने एक सेल को संक्रमित कर लिया, इन्फेक्ट कर लिया, तो उसके चंद घंटों बाद और कई आसपास की सेल्स में वायरस का संक्रमण हो जाएगा, वायरस का इन्फेक्शन हो जाएगा, और इस तरीके से वायरस की आबादी बढ़ेगी बदन में, and as the population of the virus in the body grows, with more and more cells getting infected, the focus of infection will become larger and larger. तो नाक में, गले में कहीं एक जगह वायरस का संक्रमण हो तो वो बिल्कुल छोटी सी जगह है, धीरे धीरे वो बड़ी होती जाएगी, धीरे धीरे यहां वहां वायरस बढ़ेगा, और कई जगह many other places we will start seeing infection. Is the body sitting quietly? No. What is the second step of immunity? First step of immunity, everybody remember, we said, if we can prevent the virus particle from binding to cell completely, then we have dodged the virus. We don't even know, the body does not even know that virus came in if virus couldn't stick and simply got thrown out or destroyed. तो वो हुआ पहला कदम प्रतिरक्षा का, इम्यूनिटी का, वो पहला कदम था। दूसरा कदम क्या है कि जो लाइनिंग सेल्स हैं उनके अंदर वायरस घुस जाए, जैसे वायरस बायोकेमिकल मशीनरी को हथियाकर अपनी कॉपियां बनाना शुरू कर ले, at the same time these infected cells also have inside them viral sensors that identify, for example, double-stranded RNA, जो आमतौर पे साइटोप्लाज्म में नहीं होना चाहिए, वो अगर हो तो साइटोप्लाज्म में ऐसे सेंसर मॉलिक्यूल्स हैं, सेंसर प्रोटीन्स हैं जो उत्तेजित होते हैं, and as soon as they are stimulated, they begin to execute a cellular response to the virus. This is in the infected cell, mind you. They begin to generate a cellular response to the virus. This cellular response consists of two components. एक उसमें से हिस्सा ये है, इस प्रतिक्रिया में एक हिस्सा ये है कि किसी तरीके से वायरस का जो काम चल रहा है कि सेल की एंजाइमेटिक मशीनरी को हथिया के वायरस की कॉपियां बनाने में लग जाए, उसमें बाधा डालना। अगर उसमें बाधा डाल पाओ, clearly you will have interrupted the virus life cycle, and if you interrupt the virus life cycle, that is a straightforward antiviral response. Correct? So that's one. A second component is, this is not always going to be successful. If it's not always going to be successful, then in some infected cells, some virus particles are going to come out and they're going to start infecting cells around, right there, in the immediate neighborhood of the originally infected cell. अब यूं जब होता है, तो प्रतिरक्षा व्यवस्था ने क्या करना चाहिए? तो आप सोचिएगा कि जब शहर में कहीं कोविड-19 की केसेस होते हैं, तो म्युनिसिपल अथॉरिटी क्या करती है? क्वारंटाइन करती है, यानी कि उस जगह को ऐसे बंधन में बांधती है कि उसमें कोई बहुत ज्यादा अंदर ना जाए, बहुत ज्यादा बाहर ना आए, ताकि इंफेक्शन की कंटेनमेंट हो. The second response of the cells to infection is exactly this. It creates containment zones in the body. Very, very small containment zones, mind you. Around a small cluster of cells, there is a containment zone built. How is this containment zone built? It is built by inviting cells of the immune system to come and accumulate and to build a little barrier. And this barrier is now creating a containment zone. आजकल क्या कहते हैं? Micro quarantine zone. So these are all micro quarantine zones created. So two things are being done by the immune response. One is the virus life cycle is being interrupted. So there is an antiviral response. The second is containment is being maintained so that the virus doesn't keep going here, there, everywhere in the body. So whatever immune responses are being generated will be generated and will be effective in a small place. And this is called, this containment activity is what we all refer to as inflammation. So those are the two components that we are going to keep coming back to over and over again. ठीक है? अब यूं सोचिएगा कि कंटेनमेंट जोन की क्या जरूरत है. एक जरूरत तो ये है कि वायरस यहां तहां ना फैले कि मेरे गले में है, वो जाके मेरे दिमाग में बैठे, मेरे go sit in my heart, go sit here, go sit there. This is going to cause problems, so I want containment. But there is another reason why containment matters. And that is, think about what all we can do to prevent the virus from growing into large numbers. One is, we said that we will use antiviral mechanisms that make cells resistant to the virus. अब सोचिएगा कि एक, I'm sorry, I should say this. People are raising their hands. Just write your questions in the chat box. There are too many people in the session for me to respond to raised hands. So just write your question in the chat box. I will pick it up and include it in my responses, or I will answer specifically. तो यूं सोचिएगा कि एक सेल में वायरस घुसा है, सेल का रिस्पॉन्स बन रहा है, और सेल का रिस्पॉन्स इस तरीके से बन रहा है कि सेल ने ऐसी एक एंटीवायरल पाथवे को एक्टिवेट कर रखा है. ठीक है? Somebody is saying my voice is very low. Again, I don't think that this is true for everybody, so I think it's a problem with your link. So
yes, sir, we can hear you. Yeah.
Is this a general problem that my voice is too low?
No, sir, we can hear well.
Okay.
It's a specific device problem, or people have kept their volume button low. So
good. So now here's the problem. When a virus has gotten into a cell, we are expecting that cell to sense the virus and respond. लेकिन यार, वायरस कोशिका में घुसा है और आप कोशिका को ही जिम्मेदार ठहरा रहे हो कि तुम ही कुछ करो. अब कोशिका इतनी बीमार हो गई कि नहीं भैया, कुछ काम नहीं कर पाती. तो क्या होगा? तो ये होगा कि उसमें वायरस की बढ़ंत होगी, and the virus will come out, and the virus will come out and will infect other viruses. So is there a way of worrying about this? One, as I said, is inflammation and microcontainment. But add to that a second thing, that a sick cell can still release things. If it releases signals, if it sort of excretes signaling proteins that affect surrounding cells to become virus resistant, those surrounding cells are not as yet virus infected. So as yet they are healthy. So they will respond very well. to becoming preemptively ready to deal with virus, है ना? तो बीमार सेल से जो सिग्नल्स निकलते हैं वो जो स्वस्थ सेल्स हैं, स्वस्थ कोशिकाएं हैं बीमार सेल की इर्द गिर्द, उन पे यूं असर करते हैं कि उन्हें वायरस रेजिस्टेंट बनाते हैं। और ये जो काम है ये इंटरफेरॉन्स की माध्यम से होता है। सो दिस इज व्हाट इंटरफेरॉन्स डू। इंटरफेरॉन्स मेक सराउंडिंग सेल्स रेजिस्टेंट। So why don't we have lots of interferon all the time so that viruses, we don't have to worry about viruses at all? Because these interferons will increase the metabolic activity of cells so much, उसकी भी एक कीमत चुकानी पड़ती है सेल को। The cell will use much more nutrients, the cell will have much more oxidative stress, other kinds of stress, cells can die. So you don't, so there are always costs to be paid. हर एक फायदे की कीमत भी चुकानी पड़ती है। तो इसलिए हम हर हमेश सेल्स को एक्टिवेटेड नहीं रखते। जब जरूरत हो तब सिग्नल्स के मुताबिक एक्टिवेशन को अपनाते हैं। And that's how we build containment. So when this happens, clearly some cells are going to get stressed. Cells are going to die. In other words, there is going to be local tissue damage. And a long-term lesson of immunity is that all immune responses have a light side and a dark side. The light side is they help you to recover from infection. The dark side is they will always cause tissue stressing and tissue damage in the area where infection has taken place. And it is this balance between antimicrobial activity, antiviral activity in this case, and tissue damage. It is this balance that all of us are always walking very precariously all the time because we are always exposed. So, since I'm glad people have started asking questions, let me begin to take questions. So one of the questions is, वायरस अंदर आता है तो लाइसोसोम के जरिए डाइजेस्ट क्यों नहीं होता? तो जाहिर है कि वायरस की एवोल्यूशन अगर ऐसी हुई होती तो वायरस होता ही नहीं। तो जाहिर है कि वायरस हैज फिगर्ड आउट अ वे ऑफ डॉजिंग लाइसोसोम, and the way the virus figures out a way to dodge the lysosome is that the virus doesn't simply sit in small bubbles as it goes into cells. It actually escapes from the bubble through the membrane and gets into the cytoplasm of the cell. And that's how it escapes the lysosome. So the second question is, all of this is dealing with recognition of the virus. जैसे कि मैंने कहा कि वायरस की आरएनए सेल के साइटोप्लाज्म के अंदर आ गई तो डबल स्ट्रैंडेड आरएनए को पहचानने वाले बायोसेंसर मॉलिक्यूल्स, बायोसेंसर प्रोटीन्स मौजूद है सेल की साइटोप्लाज्म में, हर एक सेल की साइटोप्लाज्म में है तकरीबन। सो दिस इज ए वायरस सेंसिंग मैकेनिज्म। हाउ स्पेसिफिक इज द वायरस सेंसिंग मैकेनिज्म? सो I'm just translating one of the, or I'm sort of modifying one of the questions I've gotten. How specific is this mechanism? So the double-stranded RNA sensing protein will recognize all double-stranded RNA. उसको इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा कि ये double-stranded RNA इस वायरस से है या उस वायरस से है या उस वायरस से है या उस वायरस से है। हर एक वायरस के खिलाफ double-stranded RNA सेंसर मशीनरी जो है वो एक ही तरीके का रिस्पॉन्स बनाएगी बस। So all viruses of a certain kind, meaning double-stranded RNA viruses, will generate exactly the same response. So this is one level of immunity. This is why everybody refers to this as innate immunity. Immunity that recognizes particular targets, but those targets are not different between many different viruses or between many different bacteria also, and so on and so forth. Most of the times, viruses and bacteria find it very hard to change this. A double-stranded RNA virus will find it very hard to stop being a double-stranded RNA virus. It can make small changes, but it can't make a huge, massive change in its own structure. Yet, there are ways in which viruses can sidestep this particular set of immune responses. So one of the things that for coronaviruses, for SARS-CoV-2 coronaviruses do is उनकी जो RNA होती है, उस RNA में ऐसा एक प्रोग्राम होता है जो इंटरफेरॉन पाथवे के खिलाफ काम करता है. तो जाहिर है अगर इंटरफेरॉन पाथवे के काम को अगर रोके वायरस की प्रोग्रामिंग में, तो इंटरफेरॉन पाथवे उतना अच्छा काम नहीं करेगी जितना करना चाहिए. And if that happens, then we have a problem that antiviral activity will be reduced, so virus numbers will grow. That's one way that the virus has of interfering with the body's immunity. And in fact, many coronaviruses actually do this. So what else happens? Because what we've talked about so far does not depend on experience. This is what will happen if my body meets SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, for the first time. This is how the response will be. But in addition to all of this, something more will happen. And that more is the following. Let's go back to where we said the virus will come in through droplets, will lodge in my nose, in my throat, in my breathing tubes, and will stick to the lining cells of these passages. And if the virus particle can actually stick very closely to the cell surface, then it can enter. How is this close sticking done? Some of the proteins on the virus surface have a particular shape. And that shape is complementary to the shape of a particular protein on the cell surface. So that when they come close enough, like a lock and key, they stick together very firmly. And if that happens, then the virus can get in, then the virus can actually push its way through the membrane into the cytoplasm, and so on and so forth. So this interaction, can we block this interaction? Because if we can simply stop these two from binding to each other, there is no problem at all. So one way that the body has of dealing with this by creating such an instrument is when the virus comes into the body, the adaptive immune system of the body, the B and the T lymphocytes, which are all in the news these days, they have a large number of potential target recognizing proteins on their surface. And what the body does is screen the virus against a large collection of B lymphocytes with differing, potentially complementary proteins, identifies those that bind to the virus, and gets those cells to grow, expand, mature, and start secreting these complementary binding proteins. And they are the proteins we call antibodies. So there are antibodies circulating in the body after a few days of infection. Remember, this is because we are taking the virus, we are screening the virus against a large collection of cells. We find a few cells that match. We are getting them to grow first into, cells will divide, 1 will become 2, 2 के 4 होंगे, 4 के 8, 16, 32, 64 वगैरह वगैरह. फिर उनकी मैच्योरेशन होगी और वो एंटीबॉडीज बनाने लगेंगे. तो कुछ वक्त तो लगेगा. तो 2-4 दिनों बाद, इन्फेक्शन के 2-4 दिनों बाद एंटीबॉडीज शरीर में बनने लगती हैं. तो ये एंटीबॉडीज जैसे बॉडी की फ्लूइड्स में मौजूद होती हैं, वैसे ही उनमें से कुछ एंटीबॉडीज सिक्रीशंस में भी आती हैं. तो जब सिक्रीशन में आती हैं, तो जाहिर है कि व्हेन अ न्यू ड्रॉपलेट कम्स इन, इफ द म्यूकस also has antibodies, these antibodies will block the virus particle from sticking to the cell. But they will block it only if a particular antibody binds to the docking part of the virus, the body will make antibodies against the entire surface of the virus, because the entire surface has lots of different shapes, and the body simply matches shapes and creates antibodies against it. Those antibodies that happen to stick to the cell binding part of the virus surface are the only antibodies that are likely to help in preventing virus infection. These are the antibodies that are in the news as neutralizing antibodies. These are the antibodies that all the COVID-19 vaccine efforts are trying to generate very specifically. And it is these antibodies that actually distinguish between different viruses, because different viruses have slightly different shapes and different target proteins on the cell surface in their life cycle. And because of that, different antibodies are specific for different viruses. ठीक है? विशिष्ट एंटीबॉडीज जो हैं वो बिल्कुल एक ही वायरस को पहचानेंगी और बाकी वायरसेस को नहीं पहचानेंगी। और इसमें अगर वायरस की एवोल्यूशन इस तरीके से होने लगी कि वायरस ने अपना प्रोटीन थोड़ा बदल दिया, तो बस एंटीबॉडीज काम नहीं करेंगी। ये भी एक चिंता पड़ी हुई है जो लोग वैक्सीन बना रहे हैं उनको, कि अगर वायरस की म्यूटेशन और सिलेक्शन और एवोल्यूशन हो गई तो वैक्सीन की यूटिलिटी का क्या होगा। तो ये जो सवाल आप में से किसी ने पूछा, उसका ये जवाब है। तो so keep in mind how I described the virus. The virus comes in through breathing. All this conversation that the virus comes in through contact, somebody has asked this, is incorrect. Contact-based infection is very inefficient. बहुत आसान नहीं है वो। सबसे आसान ये है कि आप, मैं और मान लीजिएगा मेरी माँ एक दूसरे से बात कर रहे हैं, टेबल में एक दूसरे के सामने बैठे हुए हैं और माँ को कोविड-19 है और बोलते बोलते वो खांस गई। तो जो द्रव बिंदु निकलते हैं खांसने के वक्त, YouTube पे देखिएगा स्लो मोशन फिल्म्स हैं कि जब अपन खांसते हैं या सिर्फ बात करते हैं तो कितनी ड्रॉपलेट्स निकलती हैं मुंह से और कितनी दूरी तक फैलती हैं। तो ऐसी ड्रॉपलेट्स, when they go, I'm breathing as I'm talking to my mother, if they go into my nasal passages, then they lodge somewhere, and if there are a few virus particles there, they will stick. Contact का मतलब क्या है कि माँ खांसी, लेकिन उन्होंने रुमाल लेके खांसा, फिर रुमाल रख दिया और मैंने रुमाल पे हाथ रख दिया। So the droplets that have fallen onto the handkerchief, some of that material will stick to my hand. और फिर मैंने अपना नाक पोंछा तो इस रास्ते से virus has gone from my mother's breathing tubes to my breathing tubes. It is still from one set of breathing tubes to the other set of breathing tubes, which is why direct transmission through air, through droplets. Now there are different kinds of droplets. बड़े droplets को droplet कहते हैं, छोटे droplet को aerosol कहते हैं, लेकिन they are all just different sizes of droplets. And as you can imagine, large droplets will have lots of viruses, but won't spread very far. Small droplets will have very few viruses, but will spread very far. In fact, they can circulate through closed system air conditioning. तो इस तरीके से respiratory viruses फैलते हैं. So when we are saying that this is how antiviral immunity functions, we are now saying that there are two kinds of antiviral immunity. One is the antiviral immunity that even when I've never seen the virus before, my body is generating. My body is recognizing double-stranded RNA, it is making antiviral responses with interferon, it is making inflammatory responses, which is what is giving me cough and so on and so forth. And in addition to that, it is generating this particular virus specific antibodies and T cells and so on and so forth, all of which will again help not simply against any virus, but against this particular virus. So if I recover, because these particular virus specific responses are still remaining in my body, which is called immune memory, the next time I meet the virus, my response will be much faster, and therefore my level of infection will be very slow or very low, or almost no infection at all if I have lots of antibodies that don't even let the virus stick. तो ये है कि एक और है कि मेरे शरीर में innate immune responses हैं, थोड़ी देर बाद, थोड़े दिन, 2-3 दिन बाद मेरे शरीर में एंटीबॉडीज और टी सेल्स भी पैदा होंगी इस वायरस के खिलाफ। और अगर मैं एक्सपीरियंस्ड हो गया तो 2 महीने बाद जब मेरी इसी वायरस के साथ फिर दोबारा मुलाकात होगी, तब मेरी प्रतिक्रियाएं और ज्यादा तगड़ी भी होंगी और तेज भी होंगी, और इस वजह से मेरा और वायरस का जो इक्वेशन है, जो समीकरण है, उसमें वायरस की हार थोड़ी ज्यादा जल्दी होगी। सो दिस इज व्हाट वी मीन बाय द कॉम्प्लिकेटेड लैंडस्केप ऑफ इम्यूनिटी। तो ऐसा अपने में से ऐसा कोई नहीं है जो वायरस के खिलाफ इम्यूनिटी पैदा नहीं कर सकता। All of us have the capacity to develop immunity against the virus. It doesn't matter whether we have met the virus before or not. So let me again pick a couple of questions. So all right. One question is, how do interferons make cells preemptively virus resistant? So one of the ways is that interferons activate the cells to make enzymes that degrade double-stranded RNA in the cytoplasm. So when virus double-stranded RNA comes in, it gets broken down. I can describe the signaling pathways and the landscapes of how interferons do what they do against viruses, but that's one example, and you can then begin to think about many of those kinds of examples. So, I hope I have answered the question that says, how do we recognize one particular virus, and what our worry is when the virus changes its shape about recognizing it again. That doesn't mean if the virus changes its shape, our adaptive immunity, our antibodies may not work, but our innate immunity, our interferons and inflammatory responses will still work and will still give us time to make a new antibody response to the new shape that the virus has taken. So keep that in mind. As I pointed out, SARS-CoV-2 and its cousin coronaviruses all spread through air and droplets of various sizes. They do not spread through tick and mosquito bites. And I think all of us should think a little bit about this, because there is an interesting point about science in this, not just about COVID-19. And that point is, think about, क्या वायरस को हम सजीव मानते हैं? तो ये काफी फेवरेट सवाल होता है परीक्षाओं में, क्लासरूम्स में हर हमेश, कि वायरस सजीव है कि निर्जीव है। तो अपना आमतौर से जवाब होता है कि अपनी जो वायरस की जो जीवनी है, उस जीवनी के दरमियान कुछ क्षण ऐसे हैं कि वायरस निर्जीव होता है और कुछ क्षण ऐसे हैं कि वायरस सजीव होता है। तो यूं क्यों कह रहा हूं मैं? आई एम सेइंग दिस because think about a virus particle and think about a bacterium, right? Both are capable of establishing infection. लेकिन उनको अपन ने टेस्ट ट्यूब में डाल के उनकी ओर घूर के देखें और ये पूछें कि बैक्टीरियम को हमने कुछ सुई के साथ डैमेज कर दिया या एंजाइम डाल के डैमेज कर दिया, तो बैक्टीरियम क्या करेगा? बैक्टीरियम कहेगा आए. In other words, the bacterium will respond. The bacterium will sense damage because the bacterium has active biochemical processes going on in it. And the bacterium will heal itself. Correct? वायरस पार्टिकल की जो सरफेस प्रोटीन्स हैं, उसमें से एक आध प्रोटीन को आपने काट दिया एंजाइम डाल के. उस वायरस पार्टिकल में कोई बायोकेमिकल एक्टिविटी नहीं चल रही. There is no energy usage, there is no biochemical activity going on in the virus particle. As a result, virus particles are extraordinarily prone to damage because they can't heal damage. They can't cure themselves. Bacteria can heal damage and cure themselves. तो इसलिए अपनी जो शारीरिक द्रव होते हैं, all our bodily fluids contain all sorts of enzymes that break down proteins. So when the virus comes into contact with any body fluid, it is in an extremely hostile situation. कुछ चंद मिनट है उसके पास, उसके बाद द लाइक्लीहुड के किसी एंजाइम ने आके उसकी कोट को डैमेज कर दिया इज एक्सट्रीमली हाई. सो इन अ वेरी स्मॉल टाइम विंडो इट नीड्स टू गेट इन. अब ये सोचिएगा कि शायद मैं अपने हाथ पे खांसा और एक मच्छर आके वहां बैठा, उस मच्छर ने मेरा खून चूसते वक्त उस गिरे हुए द्रव बिंदु से थोड़े SARS-CoV-2 वायरस भी उठा लिए. अरे भैया, वो SARS-CoV-2 वायरस मच्छर के गट में जाए तो कहीं का नहीं रहेगा भाई, है ना? इतनी एंजाइम्स हैं मच्छर की गट में. So that virus is not going to be a virus by the time it comes out with the saliva of the mosquito. It's going to be just broken down protein and RNA bits. This is why viruses that have evolved to be transmitted by one pathway, by and large, do not get transmitted by other pathways, because their evolutionary strategies have come about for that pathway, not for other pathways. So that's about ticks and so on and so forth. But मैं सवाल उठा के, जिन लोगों ने पूछे हैं उनको महसूस होता होगा कि मैं सवाल उठा के बातें करते जा रहा हूँ. अच्छा, मैं यूं ही बातें करते जाऊंगा, आप लोग रोकिएगा मुझे और vote with your feet and you can leave. तो जाहिर है कि अगर ये जो वायरसेस निकलते हैं, मैं खांसता हूं तो ड्रॉपलेट्स निकलती हैं, ड्रॉपलेट में वायरस है, लेकिन द ड्रॉपलेट इटसेल्फ इज माय बॉडीली फ्लूइड, तो उसमें भी प्रोटियोलिटिक एंजाइम्स हैं. ठीक है. दूसरी बात ये है, अच्छा, हम चीजें फ्रिज में रखते हैं एंड दे कीप फॉर लॉन्गर, दे डोंट स्पॉइल. क्यों? क्योंकि बाय एंड लार्ज एंजाइम्स दैट नीड एनर्जी टू work much more slowly, much less well at cold temperatures. ठीक है. अब मुझे बताइएगा कि आसपास का टेम्परेचर 4 डिग्री, 3 डिग्री, 5 डिग्री सेल्सियस है. दिल्ली की, हिमाचल की शाम है, दिसंबर जनवरी की है, और मैं खांसा और एक द्रव बिंदु गिरा मेरे रुमाल पर. उसमें जो एंजाइम्स हैं वो उतनी जल्दी उसमें मौजूद वायरस पार्टिकल्स पर काम नहीं करेंगे जितने वो यहां, जहां मैं पुणे में बैठा हूं, वहां कर सकेंगे, क्योंकि यहां का तापमान ज्यादा है. तो किसी ने सवाल पूछा है कि why do many of these viruses spread better in winter? Part of the reason is that their damage is a little bit less in winter. Part of it is, of course, that all of us tend to gather in rooms and keep exchanging infections much more in winter, because we enclose ourselves in warm places and therefore exchange infections. And therefore we cough and sneeze at each other much more. And therefore we go on exchanging infections much more. So these are the sorts of reasons why respiratory viruses do spread much more in winter. लेकिन ऐसा कोई निसर्ग नियम नहीं है कि सिर्फ विंटर में फैलेंगे, समर में नहीं फैलेंगे. कोविड-19 ने तो साबित कर दिया कि ऐसा कोई रूल नहीं है ना? So this is one way of thinking about it. Now, let me go a little bit further from infection to disease. अभी तक अपन ने बात करी इन्फेक्शन की, डिजीज की बात ही नहीं करी. भला क्यों? आखिरकार अपना मकसद तो बीमारी के साथ है, इन्फेक्शन के साथ नहीं है. जैसा कि यूं सोचिएगा कि अगर कोविड-19 की वजह से लोग मरते नहीं, अस्पताल नहीं पहुंचते, तो भाई हमें महसूस भी नहीं होता कि कोई नया वायरस आया हुआ है, क्योंकि नया वायरस आता, हम में फैलता, अपने आप वो अपनी जगह बना लेता इंसानी समाजों में, और हमें पता भी नहीं चलता. We are aware not of the virus, we are not even aware of infection, we are aware of disease. This is why when a virus comes in and establishes infection in a few cells, I don't know that that has happened. When do I discover this? 24, 48, 72, 96 hours later, when there are enough places where inflammation has happened, where my cells are getting damaged, not necessarily just with the virus, but with my own immune response, my cells are getting damaged. And that's when I start getting my throat is sore because I'm losing lining cells. My throat is sore because there are places where there is swelling, because there is inflammation, because there is containment. So as much of the illness is because of the body's response to infection as it is because of the infection itself. So it is in this background that we should think about disease, especially because somebody said that COVID attacks old people and babies. This is actually not correct. COVID-19 as the illness is not serious in babies. It is not serious in young people. If you look at mortality, if you look at मरने की संभावना कितनी है, तो सबसे ज्यादा कोविड-19 की वजह से, बीमारी की वजह से मरने की संभावना 60-65 से ज्यादा उम्र के लोगों में है, या तो उन लोगों में है जिनमें कई तरीकों की दीर्घकालीन बीमारियां वैसे भी चली आ रही हैं, जैसे कि हाई ब्लड प्रेशर और एथेरोस्क्लेरोसिस है, जैसे कि टाइप 2 डायबिटीज है, जैसे कि क्रॉनिक लंग डिजीज या क्रॉनिक किडनी डिजीज है, या इस तरीके की और बीमारियां हैं. और अभी तक हम ये जान नहीं पाए, और and I think that this is absolutely critical for any session about discussing science, to say that there are many things that we still do not know. None of us. There are no experts who know everything. So one of the things that we do not know is, why is it that COVID-19 seems to be a very serious illness only in a small minority of people with comorbidities? इस शब्द को आपने बार बार अखबारों में इधर उधर देखा होगा, कोमॉर्बिडिटीज. मैंने जो अभी कहा ना कि ज्यादा उम्र के लोगों में गंभीर बीमारी होती है कोविड-19 की, या डायबिटीज या हाई ब्लड प्रेशर जिन्हें हैं उनमें होती है. तो ये जो पहले वाली बीमारियां हैं, अब पता नहीं आप सोचेंगे कि बुढ़ापे को बीमारी कहें या ना कहें, और जवान लोगों में और बूढ़ों में इसको लेकर काफी फर्क है कि बुढ़ापे को बीमारी कहें या ना कहें. लेकिन ऐसी कोमॉर्बिड कंडीशंस जो हैं, उनके ना होते कोविड-19 की बीमारी गंभीर नहीं है, और आज तक हम नहीं जानते कि ऐसा क्यों. तो कोई भी आपको बताएं कि हम जानते हैं, तो पूछिएगा कि किस सबूत के आधार पर जानते हैं. So babies do not get serious COVID-19. At least so far, there is no evidence that COVID-19 in babies is serious. But let me come back to the point that I made at the beginning. My friend said, I am 5 years older than you. My parents, my aunt, my uncle are in their 80s, 90s, and so on and so forth. All of us got COVID-19. None of us got seriously sick. आंकड़ों का मसला है. एक उदाहरण से हम पूरे गुट के बारे में पक्का अनुमान नहीं बना सकते. What do I mean? I mean that if you take 100 elderly people, right, with comorbidities who have COVID-19 disease, how many of them die? 2. Maybe 2.5%. इसका मतलब ये है कि even for elderly people like me, the chances of dying from COVID-19 are extremely small. 1 in 50 chance of dying from COVID-19. Now, what are my chances of having to go to hospital? अस्पताल जाने की संभावना काफी ज्यादा है. मतलब काफी ज्यादा मतलब कितनी है? 5 में से 1 अस्पताल में जा रहे हैं, 6 में से 7 में से 1 अस्पताल जा रहे हैं, तो 12%, 15%, 20% के आसपास हो सकता है. इसका मतलब यह है that the majority of even elderly people with COVID-19 do not have a serious, severe disease. इस मुद्दे को याद रखिएगा. मेरे कहने का मतलब ये नहीं है कि COVID-19 कोई गंभीर समस्या नहीं है. बड़ी गंभीर समस्या है. But it is not an individual risk for us, each one of us separately as individuals. It is a risk for us. It is a problem for us as a society. Why? Because it spreads extremely rapidly, and therefore, even though a minority of people become seriously ill, those numbers become so large that very large numbers of patients will land up in hospitals. And then we don't have, especially because we have not made sensible choices, we have not gotten enough public health facilities developed for ourselves to be able to take good care of all the seriously ill people, which means that what happened in March and April in places like Italy will begin to happen. People will die, not because they were so ill that they would have died anyway, but because we could not provide them with medical help, with necessary medical help. और किसी भी संस्कृत समाज के लिए ये बड़ी शर्मनाक बात है कि हम में से कोई भी नागरिक ऐसे हों जो गंभीर स्वरूप से बीमार हों और हम उन्हें उचित वैद्यकीय मदद पहुंचा ना पाए. This is why the COVID-19 pandemic matters, not because any one of us is seriously at major risk. So keep in mind that babies are not only not necessarily getting seriously sick, although, as I pointed out, if you get enough numbers of babies infected, then a small minority, I think about 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 500, will get seriously sick. But babies will catch infection from their mothers pretty much the same way. Whether babies in the uterus can catch infection from a mother who has COVID-19 has not as yet been definitively established. There are, to my knowledge, 2 cases हैं जहां हो सकता है. It's not proven, लेकिन हो सकता है. So clearly that's not established fact. Otherwise, babies will catch it because the mother will cough while she's feeding it, while this, that, and the other. So a very funny question has come up. कि शराब पिए तो SARS-CoV-2 का वायरस मर जाता है और इन्फेक्शन नहीं होता। तो ट्रंप साहब जो है ना, अमेरिकी प्रेसिडेंट, उन्होंने 3-4 महीने पहले कहा था कि भैया ऐसा है कि अपन डिसइंफेक्शन करते हैं, है ना, वो ब्लीच डाल डूल के करते हैं, घिस घिस के, और वायरस मर जाता है। तो क्यों ना ब्लीच पिए तो वायरस मर जाए। अरे यार, अब अमेरिकी राष्ट्राध्यक्ष को दिमाग नहीं है तो हम आपस में क्या बात करें कि अपन में कुछ सोच रखनी चाहिए वैज्ञानिक। लेकिन मजाक छोड़िएगा, बात यह है कि आपने एक शराब का घूंट ले लिया, तो पहली बात तो ये है कि आपका जो डिसइंफेक्टेंट है ना, जो क्या कहते हैं, सैनिटाइजर है ना, सैनिटाइजर काम नहीं करेगा अगर उसमें 70% अल्कोहल ना हो तो, याद रखिएगा। और सबसे बिल्कुल मतलब शराबी दोस्त जो है ना मेरे, वो भी nobody drinks 70% alcohol. I promise you nobody drinks 70% alcohol. तो शराब पीने से कोई फायदा नहीं होता, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। तो और एक सवाल आया है, और बड़ा अच्छा सवाल है। सवाल यह है कि जनवरी फरवरी में ऑल द केसेस वर सिम्प्टोमेटिक, और अब है कि मोस्ट केसेस आर एसिम्प्टोमेटिक। क्या इज दिस वायरस एवोल्यूशन? जी नहीं। क्यों? क्योंकि जनवरी फरवरी में हम उतना टेस्टिंग ही नहीं करते थे। तो अगर टेस्टिंग नहीं करते थे तो हम कैसे जानते थे कि एसिम्प्टोमेटिक केसेस कितनी है? तो इसके लिए आप लोगों ने अखबारों में देखा होगा, देयर आर सीरो सर्वेज गोइंग ऑन, and again in newspapers, zero surveys from Mumbai, from Delhi, from Berhampur, from Hyderabad, from Pune, from all sorts of places are being reported. What is this zero survey? मैंने कहा कि जब अपना शरीर वायरस के खिलाफ कुछ प्रतिक्रिया बनाता है, उसमें एंटीबॉडीज होती हैं जो वायरस की सतह वाली प्रोटीन्स को पहचानती हैं। तो जब यूं होता है तो मैंने वायरस के साथ भले ही निपट लिया, I've dealt with the virus, I'm infection free. Today if you look for virus in my body, then you'll find no virus. But if you look for antibodies in my blood, you'll still find antibodies. That means that antibodies are evidence of past infection with virus. So when you start looking for antibodies, what you are looking for is पिछले 6 महीनों में कितने लोगों को वायरस इन्फेक्शन हुआ है जो महसूस भी नहीं हुआ होगा, शायद डायग्नोज तो बिल्कुल नहीं हुआ। और जब यूं देखें तब मालूम पड़ने लगता है कि SARS-CoV-2 has so far not evolved under selection in any particularly major direction. There are a couple of exceptions, but those are simply ways in which the infection has spread a little faster. One mutation in the virus that has gotten selected is where the virus protein sticks even more strongly to cells. So it spreads a little better. Other than this, the virus has actually not particularly mutated and undergone selection. What seems to have happened is, as I said, अगर अपन बीमार नहीं पड़े ना तो अपन वायरस की फिक्र ही नहीं करते, डायग्नोसिस भी नहीं करते, कुछ भी नहीं करते। हाँ, अब महामारी चल रही है तो वी आर ऑल टेरिफाइड, तो हर कोई जाके 4,000 रुपयों में, 3,000 में, 2,000 में, 1,000 में टेस्ट करवा रहा है, या तो सरकारी अस्पतालों में टेस्टें हो रही हैं। तो इस वजह से वी आर आइडेंटिफाइंग एसिम्प्टोमेटिक्स। बट इफ यू लुक एट द नंबर्स of what are called seropositives, meaning जिन लोगों में एंटीबॉडी बनी हुई है, ऐसे आंकड़े देखने लगे तो जाहिर है कि आमतौर से पहले से the virus has by and large in more than 50% of people, more than 60-70% of people, the virus has either caused no symptoms or very, very mild symptoms. That has not changed. So everybody is saying, oh, virus death rate has gone down. Virus death rate has gone down. This is true. पूछिएगा क्यों? It has gone down not because we have found a magic drug. We have not. None of the antiviral drugs that you have heard of in the newspapers are magic drugs. Neither remdesivir, nor ritonavir, nor lopinavir, nor monoclonal antibodies, nor hydroxychloroquine, you name it. None of these help very much. They all help just a little bit. Number one. Yet mortality has gone down. कैसे? जैसे अपन सदियों से सीखते आए हैं, we didn't know how to take very good care of COVID-19 patients, people who are seriously ill with COVID-19. फरवरी के से हमारी पहचान हुई इस बीमारी से. So all the doctors, the nurses, the paramedics, everybody began trying out things to see if they could make small improvements in how we take care of these patients. And that they began to exchange with each other. किसी ने पेटेंट शेटेंट नहीं बनाए उसके. आपस में एक दूसरे को दुनिया भर में बताते गए कि यार ये करके देखो. नहीं, हमने क्या किया ना, पेशेंट तो पीठ पे लेट पे खांसते हैं, तो खांसी का बलगम सारा नलिकाओं में जमता है. So keep turning the patient over every couple of hours. और इससे जाने बची. ये कहा गया कि तब तक ना चुपचाप बैठो जब तक वेंटिलेटर की जरूरत बने. वेंटिलेटर की जरूरत के बहुत घंटे, 1-2 दिन पहले ही अगर सिर्फ नाक में ट्यूब डाल के हाई कॉन्सेंट्रेशन ऑक्सीजन दे दो तो बहुत फर्क पड़ता है. ऐसे छोटे छोटे उपायों से, छोटे छोटे प्रयोग करके, और मैं ये सिर्फ डॉक्टरों के बारे में नहीं कह रहा हूं, ये नर्सेस ने करा है, ये पैरामेडिक्स ने करा है, ये नर्सिंग एड्स ने करा है. इनके साझा सीखने से डेथ रेट्स कम हुए हैं. किसी कंपनी ने कोई जादुई दवा देने की हमें जरूरत नहीं पड़ी थी. हमारे साझा एक्सपेरिमेंट्स के साथ we have learned together as a community how to make things just a little bit better. So the virus is not causing any great lasting damage to the immune system so far as we know. Remember, somebody's asked me this. So far as we know, the virus is not something, I keep saying, that we have to worry about at the individual level. इसलिए नहीं डरना चाहिए कि मुझे कोविड हो जाएगा. इसलिए डरना चाहिए कि मेरे समाज में, मेरे मोहल्ले में कोविड इतनी तेजी से ना फैले कि इतने लोग अस्पताल पहुंचे जहां अस्पताल में सुविधाएं मौजूद नहीं है. इसलिए फैलाव की रफ्तार कम हो. The speed of spread should decrease. We should worry about COVID-19 on behalf of other people, not on behalf of ourselves. So don't worry too much about this. इसको लेकर और एक मुद्दा करता हूं. Somebody has to tell me when to stop. Keep that in mind. इसको लेकर और एक मुद्दा आपके सामने रखता हूं. वो ये है कि मैं केमिस्ट की दुकान में जाता हूं तो बड़े बड़े इश्तेहार किन चीजों के लगे थे. तो पहले तो सैनिटाइजर के थे, मास्क के थे, अलग अलग तरीके के मास्क हैं, वो सब ठीक है. लेकिन सबसे ज्यादा इश्तेहार इम्यूनिटी बूस्टर्स के हैं, है ना. और हम सब सोचते हैं कि कोई ऐसी जादुई इम्यूनिटी बूस्टर ले लें तो मुझे कोविड नहीं होना. दुनिया जाए भाड़ में. जबकि सोच हमारी बिल्कुल उल्टी होनी चाहिए कि मुझे होवे ना होवे उससे बहुत मेरा कुछ नहीं बिगड़ना है, लेकिन मेरे समाज में बड़ी तेजी से फैले तो समाज का बहुत कुछ बिगड़ना है, और समाज के बिगड़ने से मेरा कुछ बिगड़ना है. इम्यूनिटी बूस्टिंग को लेकर सोचिएगा जो मैंने आपको इम्यूनिटी के बारे में बताया. What I told you about immunity is that immunity is activated when there is virus, when there is bacterium. क्यों? इसलिए कि इम्यूनिटी जब एक्टिवेट होती है तो कीमत चुकानी पड़ती है बदन को. अब आप मुझे बताइएगा कि आप यूं ही इम्यूनिटी बूस्टर ले लो तो क्या होगा शरीर में? What will happen in your body if you simply stimulate your immune system बेवजह? So when people ask me, what do I think about this immunity booster, that Vedic immunity booster, that Siddha immunity booster, that homeopathic immunity booster, and so on and so forth, मैं हाथ जोड़ के कहता हूं भाई, सबसे अच्छी बात मेरी दृष्टिकोण से ये है कि ये जो सब इम्यूनिटी बूस्टर्स आप लोग ले रहे हो ना, इनमें से कोई भी इम्यून सिस्टम पे कोई असर नहीं करता. और ये बड़ी अच्छी बात है, क्योंकि आपके दिल को अगर अच्छा लगता है तो ले लो. आपके दिल को हनुमान चालीसा पढ़ के अच्छा लगता है तो जरूर पढ़िएगा. इम्यून सिस्टम पे कोई असर नहीं होना उसका. कोई भी इम्यूनिटी बूस्टर इम्यून सिस्टम पे कोई असर नहीं करता जो आज बाजार में मौजूद है. आपकी इम्यूनिटी तंदुरुस्त कब होती है? जब आपका बदन तंदुरुस्त होता है, जब आपके शरीर की व्यवस्थाएं तंदुरुस्त होती है. When you have appropriate well-balanced diet, all of us don't have this. When you have appropriate well-balanced environments, clean air, good water, all of us don't have this. When you have tension-free, happy home as well as outside environments, all of us don't have this. So what should we do to boost our immunity? Fix these things. Give good food to everybody with good both macronutrients and micronutrients. Give good schooling, give good environments, clean air, good water supply, good housing, good entertainment. Those are immunity boosters. ना कि कोई जाके किसी नकली असली बाबा की दी हुई जड़ी बूटी ले लो भाई. Okay, that was just me sounding off about immunity boosting. As I keep saying, you don't need to worry about have you caught COVID or not, because at your own level it doesn't matter. मास्क क्यों पहनते हैं अपन? इसलिए नहीं पहनते कि अपन को कोविड ना हो जाए, इसलिए पहनते हैं कि अगर अपन को कोविड हुआ हो तो और किसी को ना हो जाए. ध्यान रखिएगा. सो साइंस की सवाल है, उसको लेता हूं. वो ये है कि you have some cells, and this is a brilliant question. You have some cells. These cells got infected, but that individual cell managed to cure itself of the virus infection and survive. The question is this cell now going to be resistant to virus again? This is a great question. And there is, over the past 5 years, in the discipline of immunology, there has been a conceptual idea called trained memory, trained immune memory, that has been brought up by a lot of my colleagues across the world in the field of immunology, that says exactly this, that cells that have gotten exposed to a virus or even a bacterium change their internal biochemistry in such a fashion as to become resistant to reinfection, and that this resistant state lasts for quite some time. So where is still a controversy? How long such an altered state lasts? We still don't know the answer to that. In other words, we don't know कि एक सेल मेरी इन्फेक्शन तो हुआ लेकिन मरी नहीं, अपने आप को उसने स्वस्थ कर लिया और वो रेजिस्टेंट बन गई. कितने दिन रेजिस्टेंट रहेगी? इस सवाल के लिए आज हमारे पास अच्छा जवाब नहीं है, लेकिन सवाल बहुत ही अच्छा है आपका. So here is something to think about, because I said remdesivir, ritonavir, lopinavir, and so on and so forth, and somebody has brought up the issue of medicines which kill viruses. Two things that all of us should keep in mind as differences between antibiotics, which kill bacteria, and antivirals, which kill viruses. Think about what I said a little while ago. कि आपने एक बैक्टीरियम ले लिया और एक बैक्टीरियल सिंगल बैक्टीरियम ले लिया और एक वायरस पार्टिकल ले लिया. बैक्टीरियम में अपनी जैव रासायनिक प्रक्रियाएं चल रही हैं. There is biochemistry, biochemical processes going on in the bacterium. The bacterium is using energy, it's using food, and so on and so forth. The virus particle is doing nothing. It's just sitting there. It has no independent biochemistry of its own. So, if I want to kill the bacterium, there are lots of potential targets, biochemical targets, कि इस प्रक्रिया को मैं रोकूं या उस प्रक्रिया को रोकूं. And because bacteria and are separated over a very long period of evolutionary time, bacterial processes can be quite different from my processes. And therefore, I can find small chemicals that interrupt bacterial life processes, but not have any effect on my life processes. And that's an antibiotic. And the antibiotic will kill bacteria. But the virus has no life processes of its own. Everything it uses as life processes, biochemical processes, is inside my cells. And as a result, the potential number of points of intervention to create antivirals is much smaller than the potential number of points of intervention with bacteria. This is one reason why it's been much harder over the past 50 years to make antivirals as it has been to make antibiotics. So keep that sort of point in mind. Also keep in mind that when the virus comes into my body, it first gets into the cells of my respiratory lining. But as if in a person in whom lots of viruses come in, if it begins to spread elsewhere in the body through the bloodstream and so on and so forth, then which cells will it go to? It will go to those cells which have this protein that allows the virus to stick. And the protein that allows SARS-CoV-2 to stick, उस protein का नाम है ACE2, angiotensin convertase enzyme 2. ACE2, the virus target protein, is present on very many cells in the body, including neurons, which is why somebody is pointing out that there's been a newspaper report that the brain seems to age some 10 years. Now, honestly, I've read the paper and the evidence is not as clear-cut as that. It's simply one interpretation of the evidence that they have shown. There are other less dramatic interpretations. So by no means is that to be taken as a proven fact. I'm saying this very emphatically. So, and no, there is enough research to say that SARS-CoV-2, please don't call it corona, because coronaviruses are a huge family of viruses. We don't mean all of those viruses when we are talking about the epidemic. So please, let's not call it corona. You know, it's like a student of mine used to say that, Satyajit, in my class in Banaras, किसी ने अग्रवाल कह दिया तो क्लास में 15 अग्रवाल थे, तो कैसे पता कि किस अग्रवाल की बात हो रही है? तो SARS-CoV-2 को भी उसके अपने नाम से बुलाएं हम तो सही होगा. तो उसका अपना नाम SARS-CoV-2 है, तो उसे SARS-CoV-2 कहें. SARS-CoV-2 in pregnant women, the virus does go from a mother to a baby. Whether it goes from the pregnant woman to her baby in the uterus or not, it is not very common. This has been looked at and it's not very common. What percentage, we don't know, but it's certainly not very common. So again, for pregnant women, it's not something that's going to happen to them. In fact, in all likelihood, it won't happen to them. So let's keep that in mind. Antibiotics are not effective in preventing COVID-19. COVID-19 is a virus infection. Antibiotics work against bacteria. That won't help. But keep in mind that when COVID-19 has caused lots of damage in the lungs, then in the damaged tissue, bacteria can come and establish infection. So there can be secondary bacterial infection. और इसलिए अस्पतालों में कोविड-19 की केसेस को एंटीबायोटिक्स भी दिए जाते हैं। वो इसलिए दिए जाते हैं कि लोग इतने बीमार हैं, इतनी इन्फ्लेमेशन हुई है कि उन्हें SARS-CoV-2 का इन्फेक्शन तो है ही, लेकिन ऊपर से बैक्टीरियल इन्फेक्शन भी हुआ है और इस वजह से एंटीबायोटिक्स देना जरूरी पड़ा हुआ है। तो somebody has asked a very current question, that there have been reports that some people have autoantibodies against interferon. Remember that what I said, that interferons are an antiviral mechanism. So zahir hai कि if I have an illness which involves my own immune system making antibodies against my own interferon, then I will be susceptible to SARS-CoV-2. Keep in mind that I will not simply be susceptible to SARS-CoV-2 alone. I will be susceptible to all sorts of viral infections. Correct? So there is this issue that otherwise healthy people who are not otherwise susceptible to all sorts of infections, but who have comorbidities, tend to be a little prone to getting serious COVID-19 illness. Why that has happened, we are still not at all clearly sure. So, smell. जैसे कि मैंने कहा, if the virus gets into your body, beyond the lining cells of your nasal and throat and chest passages, then it can infect all sorts of cells that have the ACE2 protein on their surface, because then the virus can stick and the virus can get in. So if that is happening, one of those places where it seems to be happening is in your nose. And in your nose, very close to the lining of the nose, are the extensions of nerve cells that allow you to smell. And it is possible. Nobody's proven this yet. This is one of those places where people are still researching the problem. But it's possible that in COVID-19, many people lose their sense of smell very early because the virus infects the nerve cells that smell. Now, as I said, this is only a speculation so far. This is not proven fact. So keep that in mind. I'm sort of avoiding questions that are not immediately COVID-19, like how does an autoimmune disease function and so on and so forth. Maaf kijiyega, for everybody, that's a sort of far aside question. अच्छा, किसी ने कहा है क्लास कब एंड होगी? यार आप क्लास छोड़ के कभी भी जा सकते हो आराम से, मेरी ओर से कोई परेशानी नहीं है। दीपना जी, अंशमाला जी अगर बताएंगे तो मैं अभी रुक जाऊं, तो लेकिन किसी को चाहिए होगा तो I can go on answering questions. As I pointed out, it is true that diabetic patients are more prone to serious COVID-19. मैं बार-बार कह रहा हूं, diabetic patients, elderly patients are not more prone to infection. We are all pretty much equally prone to infection. They are more prone to developing serious disease as a consequence of infection. Keep that difference in mind. So, what am I missing? As I said, okay. How does the RNA get free from the capsid? So the capsid protein breaks down with enzymes and the RNA gets free. And I pointed out that one of the ways in which we develop immunity is the interferon pathway. And one of the effects of the interferon pathway is that as soon as the RNA is released, it is digested. So yes, that works, absolutely. Somebody's asked, what about pets? सो कुत्तों को SARS-CoV-2 नहीं इन्फेक्ट करता, बिल्लियों को करता है, शेरों को करता है। अच्छा, आई एग्री कि शेरों के बारे में तो अपन ये नहीं कह सकते कि शेरों की वजह से हम लोगों को हो रहा है, लेकिन इसका भी कोई सबूत आज तक नहीं मिला कि बिल्लियों से इंसानों को SARS-CoV-2 की बीमारी होती है। इंसानों से बिल्लियों को हुई दिखाई गई है, बिल्लियों से इंसानों को हुई दिखाई नहीं गई। But in addition to this, there is a civet family member called mink. Civets का मतलब ये है कि नेवले की प्रजाति के, नेवले की किस्म की प्रजातियां, तो उसमें से mink is a European family member of the civet family, and mink are farmed for fur, meaning large numbers of mink are grown. Like poultry farms, there are mink farms. And on mink farms, SARS-CoV-2 has gone from the animal husbandry workers to mink, and mink can get quite sick with SARS-CoV-2. So all of this depends on whether the ACE2 protein on the surface of the cells of that animal can bind to SARS-CoV-2 or not. That's going to be the deciding factor by and large. Acha, somebody asked, should I start bullying people to wear masks? I don't think we should ever bully anybody, but we certainly should ask everybody to wear masks. Just no question about it. All right. So one question is, if I have cough, cold, high fever for 7-8 days, is this definitely COVID-19? No, it's not definitely COVID-19. यार COVID-19 के पहले भी मतलब 20-20 साल के पहले भी इस तरीके की बीमारियां तो अक्सर हुआ करती थी हम लोगों को, है ना? वो कहीं चली नहीं गई, वो भी तो मौजूद है। तो ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है that it is in the first place definitely COVID-19, and in the second place, even if it is COVID-19, you're not at risk of life. तो इतने हम अपने लिए ना डरें, मैं बार बार कह रहा हूं. So there is one question that I want to answer. How do I tell my mom that immunity booster won't boost immunity? I don't know, भाई. जब मैंने जहां तक मेरा बस बन सका मैंने आपको बताया. अब आप उससे जो कुछ लेके अपनी माँ जी को मनवाइएगा और मैं क्या कहूं. So no, I absolutely mean that healthy or sick, all of us should wear masks when we are interacting with each other. I'm not saying at all that healthy people should not wear masks, which is what somebody has asked. I'm saying everybody should wear masks. All I'm saying is our attitude when we wear masks should not be that I am healthy, other people are infected, और मैं अपना उनसे बचाव कर रहा हूं, as much as that I might be infected because asymptomatic infections. I might be infected, other people are quite likely to be healthy, और मैं दूसरों का मेरे से बचाव कर रहा हूं. यूं सोचिएगा जब मास्क पहने तब. लेकिन हर एक ने मास्क पहनना चाहिए, कोई सवाल ही नहीं है. Okay. I'm now saying this about every once in 5 minutes or so. Please stop me when you want me to stop, because this just goes on and on.
Now the number of participants is nearly half, but I am assuming that people who are still remaining are quite interested. So I would suggest that you can just select some interesting questions and take them. If you think that they are particularly revealing. So use your judgment. And I guess you can't answer all the questions. There are 100 still in my head itself. So yeah, please use your own wisdom and judgment.
Yeah. So somebody's asked, and there's been actually a discussion, which I'm very pleased with, that there's actually been a discussion in the chat box without my necessarily having to intervene in it. This is great. Can it be transmitted through food? Exactly the same rule applies. Remember that virus particles are very prone to damage with enzymes. So if you have cooked food, the viruses, to mix my metaphors, the virus's goose is completely cooked. Koi infection nahi hoga if you've cooked the. But if I have, मैंने कचौड़ियां रखी हैं सामने और मैं बातें कर रहा हूं और मैं खासू कचौड़ी पे, तो and then somebody else picks it up and eats it. Sure, this sort of stuff is always going to be possible, not impossible at all. But I'm saying again and again, 90% of infections are in all likelihood happening either through big droplets or through recirculating small droplets. Contact of this indirect kind, that I cough on something and then somebody else picks it up and gets hand contact and then puts it into their airways. This is accounting for very, 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 very few infections. Excuse me. So somebody's asked a question about cytokines, because cytokines have come up again and again. अच्छा, गंभीर बीमारी जब होती है कोविड-19 की, तो क्या होता है? तो पहले तो ये है कि कंटेनमेंट जोन्स अपन ने बनाए हुए हैं. But think about what will happen if I am exposed to a very high dose of the virus. कब होता है? Let me give you an example. These are real examples. That there is an air-conditioned restaurant. ठीक है? वहां एयर कंडीशनर का ब्लोअर ऊपर दीवार पे है, right? The restaurant is trying to save money. So the air conditioner is set on recirculating air. तो उसी हवा को खींच के 80% of the air is simply being cooled and put back. Correct? अब मैं यहां बैठा हूं, साथ वाले टेबल पे उसी एयर कंडीशनर के ब्लोअर के नीचे कोई और बैठा है. जब मैं खांसता हूं, the big droplets fall all around me. The small droplets which stay suspended get pulled into the air conditioner and then get blown all over the restaurant. And because अपन तो घंटा भर तो बैठेंगे ना, रेस्टोरेंट गए हैं, कुछ इडली खाएंगे, डोसा खाएंगे, चाय पिएंगे, ये करेंगे, वो करेंगे. So the people on the next table are getting exposed for a long time to the virus-laden very small droplets, aerosols, that I'm putting out. I'm not just putting them out when I cough, when I talk also. In fact, even when I breathe, some is always going to go out. So lots of virus is getting in. So there are many places in my lungs where inflammation starts. This means that my lung functions begins to be compromised. मेरे फेफड़े उतना अच्छा काम नहीं करते जितना उन्होंने करना चाहिए, इसलिए कि कई जगहों पे शोथ हुआ है, कई जगहों पे इन्फ्लेमेशन हुआ है. This is one way in which I get very severe COVID-19. This is why we measure oxygen tension, because if my lungs are not working well, then I'm not getting enough oxygen and therefore I need lots of oxygen. दूसरी बात ये है कि ये जो containment zones हैं, inflammation के साथ बने हुए, they are built by small protein molecules which have very short radius of action. वो छोटी-छोटी फासलों पे काम करते हैं. They work over really short distances. But this is a concentration matter. So there'll always be a little spillover, a little bit of these signaling molecules that cause inflammation will come out into circulation. But ordinarily, their concentration will be so low that they're not going to have any long-range effects. But if I have 500 microcontainment zones in my lungs, then even the overflow of cytokines from them can accumulate in my blood to levels at which everywhere inflammation starts. And that is what is called a cytokine storm. And when that happens, inflammation starts in so many organs that all sorts of organs begin to function less and less well. This is what is called in severe COVID-19 illness, multi-organ failure. And this is why the medicines that work in severe COVID-19 illness work very well are medicines that reduce inflammation. So dexamethasone, corticosteroids, these are all medicines that reduce inflammation. Tocilizumab is a very expensive patented drug that was advertised as working. It doesn't actually work, or doesn't actually work very much. But what really works to some significant extent is drugs that reduce inflammation. But this is the connection between infection, inflammation, cytokines, and body-wide dysfunction. All right. A lot of this is getting repeated. Saliva. Again, will virus be transmitted through salivary droplets? To some extent, yes, but absolutely. Salivary droplets have enzymes that will fairly rapidly break down virus. All of this is a balance of statistical chance. Always keep that in mind. This is why when you get infected, there is no guarantee of what will happen to you. It's always going to be statistical chance. So one always should take statistical chance into account. Good question. Will immunity boosters be useful when taken after a person gets infected? And this has been tried. So people have been treated with, for example, interferon. And it helps a little bit. It doesn't help a great deal, but it does help a little bit. The problem with immunity boosters at that point becomes, what kind of immunity will you boost? Because there are different kinds of immunity. Will you boost the antibody kind immunity? Will you boost the inflammation kind of immunity? If you boost the inflammation kind of immunity, you're actually going to make the problem worse, not better. If you boost the antiviral kind of immunity, maybe it will help a little bit. But in the severe illness, it's not so much the virus that is causing problems as the inflammation that is causing problems. So these are all very difficult things to make judgments about, which is why they are being put into formal tests and clinical trials. And unless something is clearly demonstrated with more than one clinical trial, we shouldn't get terribly excited about it. There is one question that, okay, sorry. Wearing masks is not harmful to any of our systems. So there is absolutely no reason for us not to wear masks. Since the question has come up more than once, I'm saying this absolutely definitively. There is the point about what kind of masks, and every layer that we add improves matters. But even one layer is much, much better than no layer at all. I'm aware that all of us cannot afford the really what are called N95 masks, and that's okay. Well, it's not okay, but in the sense that all of us should have access to them. But given the situation where we don't, even 2-layer, 3-layer, 4-layer fabric masks are fine. But all of us should wear masks. There are no ill effects of masks. The question of, does recovering from COVID-19 help us against it? Yes, it does. Because we make antibodies, now we are even more immune. It's not that we were not immune to it to begin with. We had immune responses to begin with. But now, after having been exposed to it once and recovered from it, we have acquired additional immunity against it. It is this additional immunity that vaccines are supposed to trigger in us. One of the problems of the SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19 situation seems to be that the immunity generated by natural infection, this additional immunity generated by natural infection, at least at the level of antibodies, doesn't last for very long. In some people, after 3 or 4 months, it begins to go down. This is not absolutely certain yet, so we don't know in what % of people it goes down and who the people are in whom it goes down and why it goes down. None of this is properly worked out as yet. But there is some evidence that additional immunity acquired by natural infection, especially by mild natural infection, may not last very long. At least some parts of it may not last very long. This is not necessarily true of vaccines at all. So the fact that this happens with natural infection should not worry us that it's what will happen with vaccines. It might happen with vaccines, it might not happen with vaccines, but vaccines is a whole different thing altogether from natural infection for this particular purpose. Since somebody's asked again, I'm saying this again, please feel free to leave the meeting. I'm not at I'm sitting around because there still seem to be 70 people who are sticking to this. A person whose lung capacity is already less, are they at high risk to COVID-19? Again, to serious COVID-19. All of us are equally susceptible to infection. All of us are not equally susceptible to serious consequences of infection. So serious COVID-19, one of the risk factors is the short form is COPD, that's chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, meaning diseases in which lung capacity goes down. So the question is absolutely right, and the answer is yes, it is a risk. The COVID-19 transmission to illness question I just did answer to. It is transmitted to cats, tigers, minks, not to dogs, not to some birds have been tested and so on and so forth. All right. Will a cocktail of antibodies work better? So here is my worry. My worry is that severe COVID-19, by and large, seems to be more of an inflammatory disease rather than a disease with a high viral load at the time of serious illness. And if the viral load is not high at the time of serious illness, blocking viral life cycle at the time of serious symptoms may not improve matters hugely. That's what has happened with remdesivir. That's what has happened with the monoclonal antibodies, that they are being tried in people with severe illness. And in severe illness, the virus may not be the major problem. And if that's the case, then any amount of refinement of antibody cocktails to do a very good job of blocking viral life cycle is not going to make a much greater effect. So how are people being treated in hospitals if there is no vaccine? Vaccine is not for hospitals. Vaccine is for healthy people. Hospitals are for sick people. Vaccine is for people who have not yet got the infection. We give them the vaccine so that they acquire additional immunity over and above what they have, so that their chances of getting seriously ill goes down. So keep that in mind. How people are being treated, as I said, I get severely ill if my lung is so inflamed that I cannot get enough oxygen. What is done in hospital? Give me oxygen, high concentration oxygen, so that even with my compromised lung function, I can get lots of oxygen. I'm severely ill because my body is flooded with these cytokines and therefore there is inflammation everywhere. How does the hospital treat me? The hospital treats me by giving me corticosteroids and other anti-inflammatory medications so that inflammation goes down. Why am I sick? I'm sick because there's so much inflammation in my throat and lungs that bacteria have come in and set up infection. What does the hospital do? The hospital gives me antibiotics to deal with secondary infection so that my energies and my resources are not spent in dealing with the bacteria in addition to dealing with all the other stuff that's going on. This is how hospitals try to and succeed in treating severe COVID-19 illness. Does having seasonal allergies increase the risk of COVID-19? That's a great question. And it's a great question because nobody knows the answer to that yet. There are at least 2 studies that I know of that have come to opposite results. One study thinks that there is a risk. The other study thinks that there is actually less risk. So I think that at this point, all I can say is I haven't seen evidence to go either way. Will SARS-CoV-2 enter our body through the eye? Ear, I don't think so, but through the eye, there seems to be some evidence that that may happen. But I'm not sure of what the pathway is. Keep in mind, आंखों में आंसू आते हैं. There is fluid being made in the eyes all the time. We call them tears. तो आंसुओं का होता क्या है? हर हमेश तो अपन रोते नहीं है. तो आंसू through tubes in the corners of both eyes run down into your nose. All of us know this, correct? That when we are tearful, there's fluid in the nose. और सिसकने लगते हैं ना अपन, तो उसी वजह से सिसकने लगते हैं कि आंसू नाक में जाते हैं. So it's quite plausible that virus particles that go into the eye get immediately washed down into the nose, and therefore infection is actually set up in the respiratory system, even though exposure is through the eye. Nobody's actually proven this. This is only a speculation. Dogs don't get COVID because the ACE2 protein on dog cells does not bind well to SARS-CoV-2 spike protein. Aha, this is a great question. Can immune people spread COVID-19 to others? Yes. किसी ने ये नहीं सोचना चाहिए कि मैं इम्यून हूं तो इसलिए मुझे इन्फेक्शन हो ही नहीं सकता और मैं किसी को दे भी नहीं सकता. This is not an absolute truth. It is a quantitative reality. Meaning what? Meaning that when I was not immune and I was infected, I made lots of virus and I shed virus for a much longer time. I made antibodies, I am immune, I had some symptoms then. Now, 3 months later, I am exposed again. I have no symptoms. I don't even notice that I'm infected. But the infection will still happen even though the amount of virus I make will be very little. I will make it only for a couple of days. But during that period, I can still transmit virus. So a vaccine that reduces my chances of getting severely ill does not necessarily equivalently reduce my chances of transmitting infection. Keep that in mind. Okay, so there is a question about variable amount of number of infected persons in certain races of Homo sapiens. In the first place, there are no races of Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens is one species. There are simply no races in the sense that neither genetically nor biologically do we have situations where intergroup variations of any biological functional significance are larger than intragroup variations. Just so, so all we have is culturally defined groups of humans, and therefore we shouldn't use the term race, we should use the term ethnicities at best because it's cultural. And is it true? Let me extend the question. Is it true that either infection and or serious illness and or mortality because of COVID-19 is different in different parts of the world? And the answer to this is, we don't know yet. Keep in mind that this is an emerging pandemic. Some places it has started early, some places it has started late. Even in places where it has started late, it is in the form of outbreaks that break out and subside, break out and subside, break out and subside. So at the moment, this is still an emerging situation. Any numbers we have are likely to change over the next 6 months. So, for example, everybody is telling me that in India, mortality, everybody, including the Indian Council of Medical Research, is telling me that in India, the mortality rates are very low. And I'm sorry, that's simply not supported by data. They may be low, they may not be low. I'm aware of evidence in India where the so-called infection fatality rates are exactly the same as elsewhere in the world. I'm aware of other outbreaks in India where the infection fatality rate may be somewhat low. So at the moment, these are not numbers on which we can rely to make any useful interpretations or conclusions. Please, let's not do that. Does drinking lots of water help flush out COVID-19? No, it doesn't. It doesn't because COVID-19, in the first place, SARS-CoV-2, the virus will stick to and will enter your air passages fairly rapidly. So drinking lots of water doesn't help. Nothing helps like that unless we are doing it all the time. But we can't be doing this all the time. No? You can't be spending all your life, every moment of our lives drinking water, right? So the only thing that really helps is masks. What's wrong with masks? Because they allow us to go about mostly our normal lives. So does increasing temperature of the body kill the virus? No, it doesn't actually. Increasing the temperature of the body happens simply as a result of the cytokine signals. Increasing temperature is simply a local inflammatory response, but it doesn't, in and of itself, no, it does not kill the virus. So can T lymphocytes against the virus be introduced to another person? I'm sorry. We can transfer antibodies. प्लाज्मा थेरेपी का नाम सुना है ना, जो काम नहीं करती, तो अच्छा काम नहीं करती, लेकिन प्लाज्मा थेरेपी इस मुद्दे पे आधारित है कि एंटीबॉडीज अपन बनाते हैं, उसमें से कुछ एंटीबॉडीज न्यूट्रलाइजिंग एंटीबॉडीज होती हैं, और ये जो न्यूट्रलाइजिंग एंटीबॉडीज होती हैं, ये मेरे खून से निकाल के और किसी के खून में डाल दो तो उनके काम आएंगी। क्योंकि क्या करेंगी, एंटीबॉडी जाके वायरस की सतह पे जो प्रोटीन है जिसके जरिए वायरस सेल में घुसता है वहां चिपकेगी और वायरस को सेल के साथ चिपकने नहीं देंगी, न्यूट्रलाइजेशन करेंगी वायरस का, ठीक है ना, तो काम करेंगी। टी लिम्फोसाइट्स क्या करती हैं? टी लिम्फोसाइट्स जो हैं वो इन्फेक्टेड सेल को पहचानती हैं और इन्फेक्टेड सेल को कहती हैं कि भाई अंदर वायरस है, आप यू हैव बिकम ए लायबिलिटी, प्लीज डाई। So effectively, T lymphocytes that recognize the virus actually recognize virus fragments on the surface of the infected cell bound to something of the protein of the infected cell and signal to the infected cell to die. ठीक है? Can I transfer my T cells to somebody else? No. Why not? Because the protein on the infected cell, along with which a viral fragment is recognized by my T cell, is an HLA protein. And HLA proteins are extraordinarily diverse between us. My HLA protein, टिश्यू टाइपिंग का नाम सुना है, जिसकी वजह से टिश्यू ट्रांसप्लांटेशन नहीं आसानी से कर सकते हम। एक इंसान की किडनी दूसरे इंसान को आसानी से नहीं दे सकते हम, इसलिए नहीं कि हम उस तरीके की सर्जरी नहीं कर सकते, बिल्कुल कर सकते हैं, लेकिन इसलिए कि अगर मेरी किडनी मेरे दोस्त को दे दो तो मेरे जो HLA प्रोटीन्स हैं वो मेरे दोस्त के HLA प्रोटीन से बिल्कुल अलग हैं, यहां तक कि मेरे दोस्त की इम्यून सिस्टम मेरे HLA प्रोटीन्स के खिलाफ काम करने लगेगी और किडनी की ट्रांसप्लांट को रिजेक्ट कर देगी। तो जाहिर है कि मेरी जो टी सेल्स हैं वो HLA प्रोटीन के साथ वायरल फ्रेगमेंट को पहचानती हैं और वो मेरे HLA प्रोटीन के साथ वायरल फ्रेगमेंट को पहचानती हैं और किसी के काम नहीं आएंगी। वो टी सेल्स जो है ना आपकी, वो सिर्फ आपके लिए है और किसी के लिए नहीं है। तो so that's an interesting piece of science. There is a question about blood groups, and I'm aware that there are papers with blood group associations being shown, but nobody's actually come up to my knowledge with a mechanism for how differences in blood groups may be associated with greater risk of COVID-19. And certainly that has not been an approach to do vaccine design at all. How do doctors detect COVID-19 if it changes its shape and cannot be recognized by the antibiotics? Antibiotics are against bacteria, not against viruses. But the way we detect COVID-19 is we take बलगम, और हम क्या करते हैं, बलगम लेते हैं, या तो नाक का द्रव लेते हैं अंदर, या तो सलाइवा लेते हैं, जो कुछ लेते हैं, और उसमें वायरल आरएनए की डिटेक्शन करते हैं। Polymerase chain reaction लेकर, you can even read about that. Essentially, all we are doing is detecting viral RNA. And because we are detecting viral RNA with some margin for error, even ordinary mutations in the virus will not affect detection of the virus. The virus will need to be mutated much more in order for detection to be effective.
Satyajit,
yeah.
I think now the numbers have gone down. I mean, even though there are still 54 people, yeah. But I think, yeah, some people have also conveyed their appreciation and gratitude. So okay. I think we should stop for today, and we will certainly request you to come again and probably give you a less broad topic for the next time. Udipna, can you just say a few words to Professor Satyajit?
Thank you so much, Professor Satyajit, for such an engaging talk and for clearing so many concepts that we keep hearing about, and we did not know about so many things like interferons and you know, how the cell functions when the virus attacks, and clearing so many things, including some silly questions, but pertinent ones that keep coming about. So it was very engaging to discuss this with you. We hope we will get to interact with you again. Thank you so much for such a brilliant talk.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Yeah, even I would like to repeat the thanks. It's like, okay, for others, I have known Satyajit from a distance for a very long time and have been an admirer. And it's like my real privilege to have him here as a speaker with us. So, I mean, I do hope to get you to advise us on some of the things we do for students and teachers. So it's been very, very nice having you and have you talk so freely. So look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. That was very kind. I hope it was useful. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.